Hello again everyone, I am Naturemations, and today I'll be talking about why I quit Warrior Cats Ultimate Edition on Roblox. I actually quit a while ago and planned to make a video on why a while ago, but I never got around to it because I couldn't find an opportunity to record in silence for long enough, and also just scripting difficulties. I had to write a whole new script, because I lost my old one, unfortunately. My Google Docs is a nightmare. But anyways, Warrior Cats Ultimate Edition is one of the first games that I ever started playing on Roblox. It's actually what mostly got me into it, along with Fashion Famous in late 2022, I believe. And I posted my first Warrior Cats Ultimate Edition video in 2023 about one of my OCs. And my first one actually filmed in Warrior Cats Ultimate Edition, because the other one had been a PMV, was shortly after posted. And I officially decided to quit in July of 2024, but continued using it for OC lore and MEP parts, which is multi-editor projects, until August of 2024, where I posted my last Warrior Cats Ultimate Edition video of the Cattails character Crampy with the song Everyone is Dumb. And I had actually made that quite a while ago, but that was the last one that I had posted. And I had posted a community post of me officially leaving the Discord server for Warrior Cats Ultimate Edition as well in early 2025, I believe. And I have not rejoined the server since. Over the last couple months, I have briefly gone into the game just to play around with my morphs and to see if maybe any good roleplays actually exist, but I have yet to find any and have mostly completely given up by now on the game. So now on to why I quit in the first place, and there are three main reasons, and I'll talk about the main one last. The first reason is the way that the community treats non-cat players, which, if you're unfamiliar with the concept, it's basically just someone that plays as a character that isn't a cat in the actual roleplay itself. This can be either as a rogue, just a regular realistic non-cat, or it can be in the clan with some sort of backstory, and they get quite a bit of a bad reputation because most of them are a bit unexperienced or haven't read the books and are just trying to play around however they want and sometimes disrupting role plays. But I also frequently played as non-cats in clan. I posted a few videos about it as well, mainly with my gray fox morph and my two large dog morphs. But I was always very professional about it, and I had proper backstories for why they're in a clan, why they speak cat, etc. For example, a dog raised in a household with a bunch of cats, or a gray fox who was adopted into the clan when they were young and hadn't even learned their own species' language yet. I'd like to point out this is never me hijacking the story to make it about non-cats. I'm simply trying to live my life in the clan as a non-cat. And let me tell you, the community did not care. They were willing to fully verbally abuse me and completely deny my existence in their roleplay, not hearing me out. The following are some screenshots that I took, and they may seem quite tame, but that's just because I was too heated to take screenshots in the much bigger fights, but you should be able to see the problem with these ones as well. And these are pictures that I managed to get as evidence to report the people to moderators on the Discord server, but this has happened repeatedly, and sometimes I'm just too stressed or upset to take screenshots in the middle of an argument, especially if it's one of the bigger ones. So these are the pictures. For further context about some of these, since a bit of them are confusing, I'll try to explain the more context-based ones. The first four of them are all from the same situation, in which I was a fox and refused to switch to a cat because I wanted to be a fox, and it's a public server. It does make me seem kind of bad with those pictures, since the hosts seem super nice, and they honestly were. But the main point is that they would rather argue with one person for having a slightly different roleplay as opposed to starting this roleplay and ignoring me as best as possible. And I'd like to state again, I was never forcing someone to, constantly interact with me or making myself be the main character as a non-cat. I was just also in the roleplay, and people tended to come up to me and say that I couldn't be, even if I was not trying to interact with them specifically. But the host was quite nice, they just refused to understand. And the one talking about me being from school was because the argument started with someone trying to get me to do inappropriate acts in a server, and I told them I was a minor because it's Roblox and you have to disclose that. And this became an argument that other people didn't fully understand, and they moved it to me being in a wolf morph rather than someone literally trying to get me to do heat with them along with other people to do heat with them in a private server. The one about Koi is in reference to a moderator named Koi, who frequently showed up to my reports on the Discord, probably more than the other moderators, about people harassing me over being a non-cat. They aren't the only mod who's been on my side in this. In fact, I've had 6 or 7 separate moderators repeatedly tell me that you can't kick someone out of roleplay just because of their OC, but it never really works. The message never gets fully spread. And overall, this was just extremely stressful for me because I enjoy playing as dogs and gray foxes since they're so interesting to me. And again, I never tried to get into a high role as one of them unless it was specifically stated that it was fine. And I was never running around stealing prey like a lot of the time you see non-cats portrayed as. And the second reason why I quit Warrior Cats Ultimate Edition is a much more common reason that I've seen a lot of other people, and it's that there aren't really even any roleplays anymore. I've had a couple really good ones that have had unique and compelling storylines, both in the Kitty Pet House and for non-warriors roleplays and in the Canon clans, where they lasted hours with interesting characters and ongoing plots, and one of them even continued on in a private server so that we wouldn't get interrupted for it, because it was just so good people wanted to continue it. Outside of this, however, most of the time, it's just half an hour of server hopping, at the least, to go find a roleplay that lasts an hour or two and then dies either because of gotta-go-itis or because of stress. Most experienced and good roleplays come with the downside of being stuck up, or strict, or not allowing non-cats. And, again, non-cats not being in a clan is obviously fine, you don't need them for a good roleplay, but most of the time that people don't allow it and get very strict about it is people that are willing to uproot their roleplay just for the sake of kicking someone out. And finally, the third reason. This is technically a couple things, and these are very specific experiences. The third reason is simply how toxic the fandom is as a whole, but it boils down to a couple things specifically. In early January of 2024, I posted a video that absolutely blew up way more than any of my other videos, and I wasn't expecting that, talking in a comedic way about how I got banned from Warrior Cats Ultimate Edition for 5 weeks. The video was comedic because honestly I was extremely stressed out by it, and at the time it was receiving some awful messages, but I can now go into better depth about what had actually happened, and I'd like to fully properly explain how I got banned and what it was for in a proper way. But keep in mind that it will have brief discussion of things like racism, and apparently incest. I'll explain this all in a moment, it's a bit confusing. And then more heavy trigger warnings for extreme mental distress, sometimes people telling me to off myself, and people basically threatening to online stalk me, which luckily never turned into anything, I'm fine. But if you're not comfortable hearing about this, skip over to the section about Rainworld, which will be the section right before the outro. So here are good. Allow me to explain. I came up with the idea for a clan called Monochrome Clan in Clan Generator, also called ClanGen. It's basically a game that I'm sure quite a few of you that watch my channel are familiar with, where you run your own clan. It's a single-player game, and I had the idea for the clan. It's a clan of cats that worship the moon and the night for the cooling summers, the passing of spirits, and the cover from predators that it provides. On the other side of this, they see the sun as evil due to the drying of herbs, the droughts, and the scalding hot weather. This leads to a Monochrome Clan exiling all cats that aren't on a grayscale when they turn 6 moons old. And they don't tell these chrome kits, as they call them, that they'll be exiled until the day that they come of age. They also find value in solid white cats for being so connected to the moon and the stars, seeing them as good fortune. I'd like to make this very clear for anyone who's getting upset by this, because it makes sense too without the context. But Monochrome Clan is and has always been portrayed as an evil clan. The entire point of the roleplay was that a chrome kit named Solar Kit was born and had the moon shine on her, and the leader of Monochrome Clan, Smokestar, begrudgingly allowed her to stay. Solar Kit would later in the roleplay grow up and overthrow Monochrome Clan, turning it into a peaceful clan where everyone looked out for each other regardless of their pelt color. This clan was always meant to be an evil clan. Anyone who was skeptical about the motives of this clan had the ending explained to them, so it wasn't like anyone was unaware of the fact that this clan is evil and would have a better ending. Right about as Solar Kit was born, I was playing as her to keep the plot on track. 3 bright orange and golden cats were in camp as role players. Me and my deputy, who is basically the co-host of this roleplay, because they were basically the leader now, I was kind of juggling between leader and Solar Kit. So we explained the plot to them, and then gave them several options from there. We offered that they could change morphs, change to chrome kits to keep their current morphs, be prisoners from a different clan, or be spectators. We even offered that they could be a dark shade of gray-brown, since it was the closest to a grayscale that I could make a brown cat. They responded that grayscale morphs are ugly and they don't have any, in which I offered to make them some custom ones that they could even keep or just get rid of right after the roleplay since they didn't seem to like them. They immediately started using all caps and spouting off about how the entire clan is inbred and racist, going as far to say that me and everyone else in the roleplay is racist and inbred in real life. The deputy and acting leader, I had been playing Smokestar formerly before switching to Solar Kit, as I mentioned before, were absolutely amazing with this. So was the medicine cat. Shout out to you guys if you somehow see this. You didn't deserve to be there for that or deal with that stress, and I hope nobody else got banned as well. So anyways, the situation eventually escalated into an undercover mod joining, but I could recognize them as a mod based on how they were acting, the questions they were asking, in general, just they were clearly the moderator that ended up banning me. They said that I had to apologize, and I said that I would apologize if the other people apologized as well. To this day, I don't think I needed to apologize for this, but I thought that maybe a compromise would fix this, and it did not. It was 4 a.m. in real life, I was tired, I was stressed from the screaming match in which I was told to kill myself multiple times for being racist and inbred, and I just panicked and quit the game when they refused to apologize as well. When I returned the next day, I received a notification that I had banned for 5 weeks, and then made the comedic video that I did about 1 to 2 days later after I had recovered from the general shock of what had happened. And this video received a lot of positive feedback, a lot of people talking about mistreatment from mods as well, but there was one thing that happened that finally collapsed my nerve. By nerve, and you may know this already, I mean that I swore that I would never delete a comment just for being hateful. I didn't think it was fair, and I didn't think that I would ever, because hate didn't affect me like it does nowadays. It still doesn't affect me much, but it definitely does a bit more. And someone commented under that video I made, saying that they were the sibling of the moderator that banned me, and that they were going to get me banned from Warrior Cats Ultimate Edition permanently. I'd spent a lot of Robux on the game for game passes, I have tons of OCs on it that took me a lot of time to create the morphs for, and this was around the time when I was also in a depressive spiral, which I'm definitely out of now, and I'm very thankful for everyone that was supportive through that, and had nothing else to do but play Warrior Cats Ultimate Edition for social interaction. I deleted the comment, blocked the user from my channel, and never heard from them ever again. I don't think that they were actually the sibling. I highly doubt that, because like I said before, and as you probably know, I didn't end up getting permanently banned. But I felt horrible about it because, like I said, I hate deleting comments, especially hated it at the time, but I just didn't want it to become a thing or go any further. This was about the end of the situation, but I only did 1 or 2 genuine roleplays after being unbanned, and it was already ruined for me since I can't deal with that stress, honestly. There was also one scenario before this that I made a comedic video about as well, a bit after the other one had been posted. And this, well, the video was posted after, did happen near the beginning of me starting Warrior Cats Ultimate Edition. What happened was that I was playing as the Wind Clan Medicine Cat, and River Clan and Shadow Clan were at war. It was a 3-clan roleplay. A River Clan cat came into camp and told me to deliver a message to Shadow Clan, and in roleplay I said no. This entire interaction was completely out of the blue, and we were both using quotes around text and being fully in roleplay for it. Wind Clan's roleplay was very dry after about an hour, so I went and joined River Clan as their medicine cat. Later, the leader had a vision that the camp was on fire, and I had my character attempt to talk with the deputy, being as my character didn't believe in StarClan, and it was an actual plot point for them. I was completely ignored, and nobody had even told me that I was voided or why at the time. I asked a spectator who, props to them for them being them, because they were very kind, explained to me that the clan had voided me and they also weren't sure why. RiverClan was evacuating into WindClan, and RiverClan's leader was completely avoiding me, so I went and asked the host of the roleplay, which was the WindClan leader. They explained that I had ruined the roleplay and that I could just keep roleplaying despite being voided. Now, normally I would do that, but I was the medicine cat and literally everybody in the server was completely ignoring my existence. I tried repeatedly to explain that nobody told me it was plotted, and at this point I was basically in tears from the stress of it all, as, like I said, I was a relatively new player, and at this time I didn't know how to switch servers yet. I didn't even know it was a thing. It was late at night, and I had also had a fight in YouTube's comment section earlier, and I just sat there and let my Roblox account time out and disconnect, since I wasn't sure what else to do. I couldn't roleplay in the server. So after both of those incidents, I decided that maybe the 5-week ban was a good thing to relieve my stress. When I tell you that I was happier in those 5 weeks on the internet, I'm not even joking. I started getting to sleep earlier since I wasn't getting in long fights about trivial things right before bedtime. I wasn't constantly getting angry and stressed to the point of crying when someone told me to kill myself over roleplay style or me using a non-cat morph. And I started spending more time drawing and learning how to animate better because I had time on my hands. When that 5-week ban was up, I kept finishing up any current map parts I had to get out, and also ended up finally finishing my own Warrior Cats Ultimate Edition map, which followed Medicine Cats. It was a massive accomplishment for me, since any maps is multi-animator projects, yes, I get them confused, I'd hosted in the past didn't go anywhere. And to this day, it's still the only big multi-creator project I've finished, and I'm hoping that I can eventually get another one out, maybe a map, but again, this is still the only one I've done. And I basically quit Warrior Cats Ultimate Edition after finishing up my last PMVs and map parts, but I was still in the Discord server and intended to do kitty pet roleplays such as Royalty, Magic School, etc. And every time, it either ended in a fight or it didn't last long enough for one to start. I made a community post in the community tab a month or two ago, as of writing this at least. It might have been a bit longer now. And it was with the caption "Finally Free" with pictures of the process of leaving the Discord server, including the feedback submitted page. And I haven't played Warrior Cats Ultimate Edition since, except just to check out the morphs. Just in general. I still like Warrior Cats, especially the original thing, like with the original series. And I definitely still love Roblox, but I genuinely believe that for a lot of people, Warrior Cats Ultimate Edition is bad for them. If it gives you a lot of stress or you tend to get into fights while playing it, I urge you to take a break from the game for at least a week or two and then come back just so you can see how bad it truly is. It's not good once you look back and see the things that happened that you had gotten used to. Now, scroll back about a year from all of this. This is back quite a while ago. I was scrolling through YouTube and found a video from the Warrior Cats YouTuber Northflow, I think that's how you pronounce their name, who I watched quite frequently. It was a video about animating a fight scene for something called Rainworld. As you can see in the background, I'm sure you know where this is going. I didn't think much of it and kind of just thought that it was a YouTube television project like Hell of a Boss or Lackadaisy. I think that's how you pronounce that again. Still a year back, I kept seeing these strange slug cat things on my YouTube recommendations. I looked into it and decided to buy the game, then disliked the lack of story and quit for about a year. Present time, at least somewhat present time. Bored as hell without Warrior Cats Ultimate Edition, since it gives me anxiety to be on, and this was around the time of my 5-week ban. I give Rainworld another try, and end up figuring out the lore, at least a bit. So, after a bit of playing through and getting some of the lore for myself, this is when I looked up the lore and was immediately invested before even beating Survivor, then going on to buy Downpour for myself as soon as I beat Survivor's campaign. You all probably know the story if this isn't your first time you're seeing me. I now have OCs, animations, PMVs, favorite characters, ships, the lot. And then we get announced that Watcher's coming out. I'm of course ecstatic for a new little buddy to play around with, because especially they were originally a character in the base game. So I buy it as soon as it comes out to get the discount, which I still think was a good idea. but then waited to play it until more lore came out, since I prefer to see the lore before actually playing the game in order to, I guess, treat it more like a roleplay, since that's how I prefer my games. If you've seen my video on the Watcher DLC, you know that I'm not fond of the direction that the DLC took with its gameplay. I immediately took my opinion and concerns to the Rainworld Reddit, although I guess maybe not immediately, but as soon as I came up with what all I should say about it. And I was expecting my feelings to be shunned, or have my opinion shunned, and then I found that people were actually having civilized discussions. Of course, there was always the occasional dull comment like no, or I hate this idea, and a few people were still doing the super over-the-top stuff, like telling me that I was downright wrong and didn't deserve to be in the fandom. But most of the people were actually talking about how it was okay for me to think and do what I want with the game. I wasn't being harassed and stalked online just for having an opinion. People respected my "I'm done with this conversation because it's stressing me out" and just never responded. Overall, I think that's what a fandom should be. A place where people can differentiate opinions from the people. A place where someone can hate Artificer and all of Downpour, and someone else can hate Watcher and love Artificer. And the two can just ignore each other and let people continue spreading their take. I'm glad that I've found the Rainworld fandom, even if it has its moments. It's known for generally good things like the memes and the art, instead of being known for a toxic environment and constant drama like Warrior Cats Ultimate Edition. I doubt I'll ever return to Warrior Cats Ultimate Edition, and if I do, then it almost certainly won't be for online purposes, more so just to see how it's developing. For example, I might check out the new models if they ever get released. I honestly debated just letting my Warrior Cats Ultimate Edition days be completely forgotten, but a lot of you found me through my videos on Warrior Cats OCs, and I think I owe an explanation, since I was gonna make one in the first place and said so. And I just wanted to get the whole story out for anyone confused. And I hope this cleared things up. I will be answering questions in the comment if you have a Rainworld class civilized discussion rather than an argument. For example, keep the Squirmond and Spearmaster instead of Artifice and Rivulet, please. I've been considering bringing back the idea of that one Warrior Cats book I was making, Tansy's Heart, but I'm not sure yet. If I do eventually decide to, it'll be on my Wattpad. Go check that out if you have time. My bird would also like to check it out. I'm working on a wide range of books there, and I'm definitely bringing back a lot of the old ones that I had been making before. And with that, and the bird agrees, I will see you all next time. Bye-bye!